So if you're feeling anxious, there's just too much coming in, too much pressure, you're not sure if you're coping, several things on your mind, the first thing I would absolutely recommend, the first thing I always do, is make a list. Write it all down, get it out of your head and down onto a piece of paper, because your brain has to keep repeating things in case it forgets them. And if it's a bad thing, it has to keep thinking about the bad thing over and over again in case it forgets it. If you write it down onto a piece of paper, you've got it, it's safe, it's not going to be lost, and your brain can then move on to solving the problem. So the first thing is make that list. Once you've got the list, you can look at it and think, how bad is it really? I've only got 3 things on there, and none of them are that bad. A question I like is, will it matter in 5 years' time? And almost nothing is going to matter in 5 years' time. So will it matter in 5 years' time? There's a thing called first world problems, which you may have seen, and they are great for helping you to put things into perspective. I think my favourite one is 1 pillow is too low, but 2 pillows are too high. And that's such a first world. If that's your biggest problem, then you're a lucky person. And I read one, somebody was saying, I'm on the sofa and I'm hungry and there's a pizza in the fridge, but I can't be bothered to get up because I'm really enjoying my TV programme. And you just think that is such a first world problem. But even something like there's a scratch on your car and the hire company are going to come and take it back next week, and what are they going to say? Really, that's a first world problem, isn't it? I mean, if that's the biggest thing that we have to worry about, how lucky we are. So ask yourself, the things on your list, are they really just first world problems? And then make a plan for each one. What are you going to do about that scratch on your car? Are you going to take the car and get someone to look at it? Are you just going to live with it? What are you going to do with it? Have a plan for each thing you're worrying about. If you've got to give a presentation next week, have a plan. You know, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a list of all the things I need to talk about. I'm going to make some PowerPoint slides. I'm going to practice it with some friends. You could even work out which day you're going to do each step so that you can then work to your plan and you know you're okay. So make a plan of how you're going to deal with each thing on your list. Or set fire to the list. And I know this is a crazy one, but somebody told me about this once. You write a list of all the things you're worried about, and then you either tear it up or you set fire to it, somewhere that's safe, obviously outdoors, but you set fire to it and you watch it burn while you laugh at it as the list burns. And I think that's pretty crazy. But of course, what you're doing is sending a really powerful message to your subconscious that I'm not going to worry about these things. These things don't matter. There's a whole big subject called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And what they do, one of the many great things they do, is they write a list and then they imagine in their mind, they picture that list and they imagine it disappearing into the distance, getting smaller and smaller. And it gets more and more sort of grey and dark and unimpressive and dreary. And it just disappears until it's a speck. And they're just letting their mind just let go of it. And I think that's really interesting. That's just a mental version of burning it or tearing it up. So you could destroy the list. I'm not that crazy. I prefer to keep the list but have a plan for each one. But I wouldn't rule out the idea of destroying it. If it's just not actions to be done, but just things that you're worried about and you can't do anything about, then yeah, destroy the list. So it all starts with making a list. So why don't you do that right now? Why don't you just stop the video and just make a list of everything that you're worried about?